So many people, wow. No, I don't see you, don't worry. You said you were becoming a Rebbitzin, right? So the truth is, we just spoke about Pesach Sheni, just for a second, we'll just say, the truth is that on Pesach Sheni, what do you see? You see, like, what happens on Pesach? Pesach, we work, we clean our house, we cook, we have to make everything, we take away all the chametz, we work so hard, right? Comes Pesach Sheni, and it's a month after Pesach, right? And you don't do any work. You don't do anything, right? And you eat the matzah, you eat the chametz with the matzah, you can eat it both, but you're not doing any work. And in one day, not 8 days, in one day, you achieve what you've achieved on Pesach.
Oh, that's
just by eating the matzah?
Just by eating the matzah. Those who did not eat it on Pesach, who missed their chance, you do it on Pesach Sheni, you achieve it all. And what does this show us? Pesach Sheni was something that was not originally from God. Pesach Sheni was the people. The people came and they said, Lama nigara, why should we be left out? It's not fair. Just because we are impure, and again, remember, a person can become impure because they're tamei mates, they touch a dead person, they could become impure for different reasons. They're saying, why should we miss out? Right? We want to do it. We want to be part of it. And so that alone caused God to say, oh, you want to do it? Okay, I'll give you another chance. Pesach Sheni, you didn't get to bring the Karban Pesach on Pesach, bring it on Pesach Sheni. And that's why we eat the matzah, to remember that. Do it on Pesach Sheni. And what do we see from this? That when you want something on your own, when you're asking for something with your real intention that we don't want to miss out, you can achieve in one day what it normally takes 8 days to do. Okay, so this is just a message for all of us.
That will change the holiday schedules a little bit.
Okay, it doesn't work if you say on Pesach, well, I'll just make it up. It doesn't work.
I love Pesach.
So this week in Parshas Emor, we have all about the holidays. This week's Parsha is all about the different holidays. It starts off saying, it doesn't start off, but it says later on in the Parsha, Eile Moadei Hashem. These are the special times of God. Asher Tikru Otam, that you should call Mikra'e Kodesh, callings of holiness. And then it proceeds to list all the different holidays. Pesach, Shavuot, the time that we're in now, Sfirat HaOmer, Rosh Hashanah. It goes through all the various holidays. So it calls these holidays Mikra'e Kodesh, callings of holiness, that you should call these holidays, these times of holiness. And this teaches us that every holiday has a certain energy. There's an energy in it. And that energy is released through the mitzvot that we do on the holiday. So for example, the holiday of Pesach is the holiday of
Cleaning.
the holiday of freedom.
What?
Freedom. We got free, so we are free as people. Zman Cherutenu, exactly. The holiday.
Right.
You clean and you clean. Yes, exactly. Chag HaCherut. It's a holiday of freedom. So we become free people. We discard our limitations and we become free people. Shavuot is the holiday where we received the Torah. So every Shavuot, we are receiving again the Torah. We are saying we're accepting the Torah again. We're becoming the people that accept the Torah. And every single one of the holidays, as you go through, has that energy and has that feeling till today. It's that energy, and we can access that energy. So it's not just that we are remembering something that happened in the past. We're remembering that the Jews left Egypt. Yes, of course we're remembering that the Jews left Egypt, but we are going to become ourselves free. We're going to lose the limitations, that things that are holding us back. That energy is available then. It's not that Shavuot, 2,000, 3,000 years ago we got the Torah. We are re-accepting the Torah. We're saying to God, we are your nation, and we're accepting this bond between us, this ketubah, this bond that you give to like the bride. We're saying this is our ketubah, this is our book that shows that we are forever united and a united people. And the example is given of a king that went with his son on a long voyage. And he's going through many different lands, and at one point they're going through a land that's full of, it's a big desert, a desert land. And as they're going through the desert land, the son gets very thirsty. The young prince gets thirsty, and he says to his father, King, Dad, can I get a drink? And so his father, instead of sending one of the servants to go to the nearest village that's nearby to bring him a drink, he says, right here, I want you to dig. He tells the servants, dig a well right here. Yes, dig a well here. And why does he dig the well there? And every place that he went, he continued, you're thirsty? Well, dig a well here. And he says to his son, I want you to remember in your mind, like mark these places of where we're digging the well, so that one time in the far off future, you might be coming through this land yourself. And you might not have a lot of servants then with you. And as you're traveling, you might get thirsty. And when you get thirsty, you'll remember that my father had dug a well here in this place. And even if the sands of time have covered over the well is still underneath it. All you have to do is shovel a little bit, and you'll get to the well, and the well will be there. And that's what God is saying to us. You're going to go through a journey, a long journey. The Jewish people are on a very long journey, where the journey of exile has been very, very long. But God is saying to us, you're going to encounter along your journey various points in time. Mikra'e Kodesh, these times of holiness. And at these times, you will have access. You will be able to access the energy. Some of us here are very energetically inclined. I'm looking at someone. So we can feel the energy in the air. So if you are spiritually energetically inclined, you can actually feel on the holiday that energy. And if you are not so energetically inclined like myself, you need to work on it. But we work on feeling that energy by doing the different mitzvot of that day. We feel the energy of the day, and we try to become what the energy is allowing us. And that's what we're hearing here from these mikra'e kodesh, these times of these callings of holiness. God is telling us these are opportunities for you to actually imbibe that holiness, imbibe that spirit, imbibe that feeling. And throughout the year we have it. All throughout the year, we have these different times. We're very lucky as Jews. We have all these holidays. And as Lubavitchers, we have even more holidays because we have all those special days, right? And all these, you can't go like a week without a holiday. So all these times are ways that we can really invigorate our soul, because we're going through a very parched desert. I mean, life is parched. And you see, life would be so meaningless if we would go day after day after day, and days would just merge into days and weeks and then months, and there's no change. But we have, especially every Shabbat is the end of the week. It's a special day. It's a day of rest. It's a day of holiness. It's a day of spirituality. It's a day of feeling peace with the rest of the world, peace with ourselves. And it invigorates us then to start again Sunday. It gives us that strength, that energy. And then besides for Shabbat, we also have other days. We have Rosh Chodesh, the head of the month, which again gives us a certain energy of that month. And we're going to talk about the energy of this month because it talks about it in this week's Parsha. And then we go through, besides that, we also have major holidays like Pesach, Shavuot, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot. All these are times to invigorate. And then we have Purim and Hanukkah, which are rabbinic holidays that came later. These are all times. And then we have the fast days, where we also commemorate the sadness and what we're feeling, that sad feeling that we're feeling. These are all times to remind us that life is not just monotonous. Life is passing. The sands of time are going by. And within it all, we need to re-energize ourselves, invigorate ourselves for the days ahead. And this is what these times actually do. So talking about these times, we have in this week's Parsha, it says about the time that we're in right now, which is the month of Iyar. And it says, Usfartem lachem, and you shall count, mimacharat hashabbat. You should count from the day after Shabbat, which is talking about the day of Pesach. Meyom haviyachem es haomer, on the day that you brought the omer. There was an omer offering that was brought, an omer offering hatsnufa that was waved, that was brought. Sheva Shabbatot Tmimot Tiyena. You're counting 7 complete weeks. So where are we, what counting are we talking about? You're counting that many of you are doing very, yes, which so beautifully that you're doing very often after the class.
We have.
Yeah, the counting of the Omer. From Pesach till Shavuot, you are counting. And the word usafartem, and you shall count, is also the word sapir, which means bright, illuminating, right? It's illuminating, because what are you doing during these 7 weeks? You're shining yourself, you're shining your soul, until it illuminates, until it sparkles. Sapir, like from sparkle even the word in English, right? You're trying to sparkle, to shine yourself, to change yourself, to transform yourself, because we're counting from Pesach, the holiday that we got out of Egypt, we became God's chosen nation, until the holiday of Shavuot, where we actually are receiving the Torah, and we're trying to prepare for the receiving of the Torah. And when does most of this take place? In this month of Iyar. We start on Pesach, we go till Shavuot. Pesach is in Nisan, Shavuot is in Sivan, the 6th day of Sivan. But when is this happening? Most of it is happening in the month of Iyar. And that makes this month a very special month. We spoke another time how this month is a month of healing. Ani Hashem Rofecha, I am God, your healer, which is an acronym of the month of Iyar. Iyar is also an acronym for Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, and Rachel. And she's the mother, yes. And these 4 are considered to be, they're called the chariots. They're on God's chariot, so to speak, which means that these 4 are they have no, what is a chariot? A chariot, when you look at a horse and a chariot, the horse goes to a place. The chariot is just being led, right? The chariot is like the wagon that the horse is, the horse is pulling.
Yes.
The chariot has no decisions, no self-interest of where it's going. It's going wherever it's being led. And we say that's why Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, and Rachel were all like that they had no self-interest. It was all just to do the will of God. What is the best thing to do for the world? What is the best thing to do for society? Now you're going to ask me, other people, I don't know. But these 4 were very special in that way, that there wasn't their own personal slant, their own personal ego, their own personal, this is what I want. It was, we are here to serve what God wants. We are here to bring to this world a godly peace to this world, a godly energy to this world. And that is what the month of Iyar is supposed to be doing. It connects Pesach to Shavuot, so it's bringing in, this is the month that we are working on ourselves to become ready to receive the Torah, to receive God's holy Torah, the precious gift of the Torah.
Can I ask you something? Why you are not allowed to celebrate, to get married?
So that's a different thing that happened. What happened is during this time period, there was a terrible plague, and that's why it's called also Sfira. People will talk about it in a sense of mourning, because the students of Rabbi Akiva, there was thousands of his students, and they passed away during this time. On Lag BaOmer was the day when the plague stopped, and they did not pass away. So Lag BaOmer is a joyous day. It's also the yahrzeit of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, and he said it should be a day of joy. It should not be a day of sadness or mourning. And this is a day when we go to the park and we play outside, and children will play with bows and arrows, right? And the inner significance on Lag BaOmer, exactly. And the inner significance of a bow and arrow, remember this is the yahrzeit of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, who was this big mystic, very much the esoteric aspect of the Torah. So what is the idea of taking a bow and arrow? When you take a bow, you pull it to yourself, and then it goes very far, right? You pull it to yourself, you pull that arrow inward, and then you shoot it and it goes very far. It's like these things that kids play with nowadays, right? You pull it forward and then it goes very far. And the idea of that is that when we are trying to really work on ourselves, we have to look inwards. once you look inwards and you resolve the issues that you personally are having, you can very much affect other people. But first we have to look inwards. And that's just the idea of Lag BaOmer. So back to what we were talking about Iyar, if we look at we were speaking about the energy. So the energy of the month of Iyar is that every single day, it's a very special month in the sense that it's the only month that every single day we have a mitzvah, the mitzvah of counting the Omer. And it's an independent mitzvah for each day. Each day we count. And not only that, but what do we count? How do we count the Omer? We say, today is the day 1. Today is day 2. Today is day 3. We don't say today is the first day, or today is the second day, or today is the third day. But we say today's day 1, today's day 2, meaning day 2 has day 1 and day 2. Day 3 has day 1, day 2, and 3. We're growing in our service of God. We keep on growing and trying to get higher in what we are doing. And that's the whole idea of Sfirat HaOmer, that you're counting and that you're working on the 7 different attributes that we all have, 7 different characteristics that are part of the makeup of our soul. We're working on them. We're shining that part of our soul and trying to elevate it to a higher level. Yes.
Do we say Sfirat HaOmer in the day or the night? Like I did and I missed, and once you miss, you can't say the bracha anymore.
Right, you can't say the
When do you
bracha.
say?
You say the bracha at night, and then if the next day, if you haven't said it at night, you can count the next day, but without the
So
blessing.
I'm confused. In other words, when would I have said, let's say, the new day? Like
The new day, it starts at nighttime, so any,
You say it at night.
you say it at night?
People say the
Yeah,
Sfirat
Lisa.
HaOmer
At night, yes, you start at night,
Okay, but if I missed
and then
it,
if you forgot it the next day, you could still say, yeah, till the next night. And if,
once you miss it,
then you
say
can't,
Yom Yom.
right, you can just count, but you can't say the
It's
bracha.
not the mitzvah though. You don't get the mitzvah anymore.
There's a difference of opinion about whether or not every day is its own mitzvah, or whether it's a conglomerate of all of them together.
But you can't say the bracha anymore.
You can't say it with a bracha, you can't say it with a blessing, but you can still count, but you don't say it
But
with a
actually, they
blessing.
don't spread that they actually, you're right, there is just, but there's some people that view that yes, because each day is independent.
Yes.
And even if you miss one night, you can still say the bracha the next day. And,
Interesting,
you know, it
yeah.
was in the press, and it was like they were writing up this article about,
Right.
when do you say it? Yeah, and there is this discrepancy as to, they say, yes, a lot of people do go this way where you don't, but on the same token, there's a bunch of other, whomever say, yes, you can. And I guess you should, I don't know, what do you do?
Right,
You know?
so the custom is we don't say, if you forgot to say it one day, you can continue counting, but without the blessing.
Right.
But I'm gonna tell you something even more interesting, which is also like phenomenal, not really related, but somewhat related. When we talk about the holiday of Shavuot, we're all supposed to be counting every single day, right? I'm supposed to be counting or working on myself so that and the counting of Sfirat HaOmer is not like an obligation, it's an obligation on the individual. Each one of us is supposed to count till we get to the 49th day. It's not just like Shemitah. When we talk about Shemitah, the 7th year, that's the rabbinic court does. I don't have to count, this is the first year till Shemitah, this is the second year till Shemitah. I don't even know very often what year we're in. When it talks about Yovel, which is the 50th year, again, it's not an obligation on an individual, it's just, this is the congregation does it. The rabbinic court will do that. But when it comes to the counting for the Omer, we're all supposed to be counting, meaning we're all supposed to be going through each of these days and working on ourselves each of these days, whether we're actually saying the count or not saying the count, but we're counting in the sense that we're working on ourselves each of these days. So I'm working on myself today, day 1. I'm working on myself day 2, and I'm getting higher and higher and higher. That's why we don't count down. Like usually, you count down days to vacation, 40 days till vacation, right? 39 days, 7 days, 5 days, 1 day, yay, 0 vacation, right? Why aren't we doing it like that? We're excited about it, but no, we're counting because we're lifting ourselves up. We're becoming higher. We're not going down, we're going up. We're doing 1, 2, 3, we keep on going higher and higher and higher, and that's why we're counting, and that's why we're not even saying first day, second day, but 1, Two has even one with it. 3 has 1, 2, and 3 with it. We're going higher and higher and higher in our count. So this is something that we're all doing. We're all taking part in this count. And when does Shavuot come out? After what?
After 7 weeks.
After 7 weeks, which is 49 days, right?
Oh, yeah.
So after we've gone through 49 days of working on ourselves and rectifying ourselves, then we get the 50th day, which is a present from God. God says, okay, now you can only go so far. Now number 50 is my present to you. This is what I'm giving to you. And that's the holiday of Shavuot. But a very interesting thing that the Lubavitcher Rebbe actually talks about, he says, since we're supposed to be counting those 49 days, we're supposed to go through 49 distinct days, what happens if a person is in a situation where the day hasn't happened, or 2 days have happened? Can you think of any example
What do you
like
mean
that?
it
If
hasn't
they,
happened?
what, they travel and they go over the date line.
Yes, imagine very often you travel and you pass it's amazing when you travel. Like if you're going from here to California and it's sunset, like the whole trip, it's sunset, You're watching sunset for like 3 hours because you're going backwards. And if you're going, on the other hand, the other way, towards Europe, you're missing time because you're jumping ahead. So what happens when a person goes over the international date line? So if they go over the international date, it's very interesting, right? If you go over the international date line, you've actually missed a day. One day you missed a day, and one way you get an extra day, right? So he says, what happens if someone goes over the international date line during the time between Pesach and Shavuot? And what happens if they missed a day? Right? When they're still 1 day behind. And so everyone's counting day number 49 and is ready the next day to keep Shavuot, but you're only on day number 48. Now, since Shavuot is supposed to happen after you've counted your days, then he says you should keep Shavuot the day that you are counting.
Oh,
So
that's
even if
interesting.
everyone's keeping it on a Monday, you're going to have to keep it on a Tuesday.
Oh.
Everyone's keeping it Monday and Tuesday. You're keeping it Tuesday and Wednesday.
Yeah, right. Good luck on that one, yeah. But people on the plane, hoping 10 of them were Jewish.
Or the reverse, or it could happen the other way. Like you're gonna keep it a day early because which
You can do that
means
too?
yeah, you keep it a day early because it could happen the other way, that you're traveling the other way. Yes. Oh yeah.
Keep it on Monday then? Like if you're in a place where everyone's keeping it on Monday.
Well, you're gonna keep it 2 days, right? So you should really be keeping it. You keep it because this is the only holiday. Shavuot is the only holiday where it's not dependent on a specific date. It's not like, it happens to fall every year on the 6th of Sivan because we've established the calendar and we know how many days. But really, it could happen that Shavuot is sometimes on the 7th of Sivan. It could happen on a different day, but Shavuot is the only holiday that is incumbent upon how we've counted it, that we've counted our 50. Why? Because we are working on ourselves. We are working on ourselves for 49 days. The counting isn't just I counted the day, but we're working on ourselves. We're preparing ourselves to receive the Torah. And so only once we finish preparing ourselves do we receive that gift of the Torah.
Wouldn't that be in line with wherever you're traveling to? Like everybody would be doing the same thing with you.
Yeah,
If
right.
you go to Israel, everybody's celebrating Shavuot because they're on the 49th day, the same day, the same time you are.
Right, but if you go to Israel, you're not passing the date line. But if you're going the other way, you skip a day. So the day all of a sudden turns. It's already like if you're going to Australia,
Oh, yeah.
and if you're going
To India.
you have to go the very long. So the Lubavitcher Rebbe actually says that a person who's traveling during this time, you shouldn't travel over the date line during this time. And if you do, you should go the long way because otherwise it's a real problem to actually which day you're going to keep Shavuot, not when everyone's keeping it. And it's the only holiday that this is like that. Like, for example, if a person finds themselves, in a place that and they didn't know they didn't keep track of the time. Whenever people are keeping Pesach, you keep Pesach. It's the only holiday where you keep it based on your own counting because it's a very personal thing. Getting the Torah is something that's so personal, and we see that in the words of the Torah. In the Ten Commandments, what does God say? Anechi Hashem Elokecha. I am God, your God. How should it say? If God is talking to all of us, what should it say? Elokecha or Elokechem? Elokechem. I am God. I'm talking to all of you. I am God, all of your God. But it says, Ani Hashem Elokecha. God is talking to you and you and you and you, to every single one of us. And that's why it's a very individual thing. We all need to use our own unique self in it. God wants every single one of us, not just you're all a whole. Yes, we're all a whole, but we're also separate individuals. And that's why the counting itself is something that's incumbent upon each and every one of us.
Where does the 49 days come from? Who decided 49 days?
7 weeks.
God.
Yeah, like it says,
God, yeah.
Usfartem lachem, you should count, mimacharat hashabbat.
Because we were at the
Sheva Shabbatot Tmimot. Seven complete
7
weeks.
is a lucky number.
Seven
Well, it's also
Seven
because
Shabbats, yes.
we
Yeah,
were
there-
49
yeah.
on the 49th level of impurity, and so the 49 probably is bringing us up to
Yes.
7.
Exactly.
Right, but there was a reason for that.
What is the
Because
reason?
It could have been 7 times 6. For all
Okay,
we
so
know.
what
It
is
could
the
have been
reason?
because we were at the 49th level of impurity before we left Egypt. And now what we're trying to do is rectify that impurity level day by day. So hence the 49 days of the 49, to counteract the 49 level of impurity.
And on a mystical level, it's because the soul has 7 emotional parts to it. There's Chesed, Gvura, Tiferes, Netzach, Hod, Yesod, and Malchus. These are 7 different attributes that we use. And every day we're cleansing a different part. If you take 7 times 7, because every day you're doing Chesed Sheba Chesed, Chesed Sheba Gvura, Chesed Sheba, you're cleansing a different part of it.
You see that in the writing, it comes out in the writing. every
Yeah,
day.
so 7 times 7 equals 49.
Can you also speak to the sense of, when we started counting, we gave an omer, which is an animal offering.
Yes.
Which is very raw and very rough, as if to say, and as we refine ourselves and we refine the wheat that we bring as an offering, it gets more.
How did you know that's what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yes, that's exactly what we're talking about. But I just want to mention one more thing before that. When we look at God's name, the holiest name of God, it's a Yud, Hey, Vav, Hey. This is the Tetragrammaton, the holiest name of God. And if you look at that, the 4 different letters you can make different spellings from it. You can make all these different permutations of it. And the amount of permutations that you can make from 4 should be 24. But in this case, since there's 2 letters that are the same, Yud and a Hey and a Vav and a Hey, you can actually make 12. So if you try to make all these different configurations, Yud, Hey, Vav, Hey, you can make a Yud and a Vav and you can move all the letters around, and all the configurations that you're going to be making, total of 12. And that gives energy to the 12 months of the year.
Oh, that's interesting.
Now, each of the letters, there's 4, Yud and a Hey and a Vav and a Hey, each of those 4 gives energy to every month. There's 4 weeks. There's 4 weeks, plus an extra day or 2, which get absorbed within each of those weeks. So each of the Yud, Hey, Vav, Hey gives energy to the weeks of the 4 weeks of the month. And the Yud, Hey, which is the first ones,
Yes.
are stronger than the last ones, which is Vav, Hey, because Yud, Hey alone is God's name. It's Ka. We don't pronounce it, but the Yud Hey is God's name alone. So that gives like a certain even intense energy. So the first part of the month is the part where the moon is growing and getting bigger, and the last part is when it's getting smaller and smaller. Like if you look out the window on the 15th day of the month, you will see the full moon, the total full moon. That's when it's the biggest. The first day of the month is when it's tiny, tiny, you just spotted it. And then it gets bigger and bigger and bigger until the 15th, and that's when it starts going lower and lower, smaller and smaller, until again disappears, and it reappears again on Rosh Chodesh.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand about the 4. You said 4. You changed the letters
The name of God is a Yud, Hey, and Vav, Hey.
I know.
So if
Yeah.
you make permutations of this name,
is permutation?
meaning if you put like a Yud, Vav, Hey,
Like plain Yahtzee.
like if you move around the
You can
letters,
get- you can
what?
get 12 different words.
Right, you can make 20.
12 different words by changing the letters around.
Like if you scramble the word, exactly. If you scramble the words around, you can make a total of 12 different words from it. And
Regular words.
well, different from Yud and the Hey and the Vav and the Hey, from these 4 letters. You can make, like if I
Yes.
give you the word,
Yeah.
like an English word. What's an English
Ah,
word?
English? I don't know. I know in Hebrew.
If I give you the word, good. If you have the word gadol, so from gadol you can make
God, you
dagul. You
do-
can
right.
make you can
Ah.
change it into different.
Now I
You can make
yeah.
different. So because there's 2 letters that are the same, a hey and a hey, 2 heys, you can only make 12 total
I
different
see.
words,
Okay.
not 24.
I
Normally,
see
a
what you
4-letter
mean.
word, you can make 24 different
I
words.
thought you were talking about 4, 4 names for gods. So I said.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
No.
But the first half of the month represents the Yud and the Hey. The
Yes.
second half is the Vav and the Hey, and that's why it's a stronger part in the first half of the month. There's stronger energy. In fact, we try to make weddings in the first half of the month because of that. It's not, we don't, if you can't, you can't. We make a wedding anyways, but it used to be the custom that you try to make the wedding in the first half of
Really?
the month because it's the stronger part, stronger energy of that month.
Like first try to
But you're
do it
doing
on
it the first-
Tuesday, now do it in the beginning of the
Yeah,
month.
well, that's-
Right. I need to write this down.
Well, that's why we no longer do it. We're like, it's a mitzvah, you do it any
Right,
time.
exactly.
But if you
Whatever
have
the
the
date you can
ability,
get, take the.
you take it, exactly.
Right,
You
that's
take
really what
anything.
that was covered like.
Okay, so now getting to what Lisa started to mention.
Listen.
So Pesach we have that we left Egypt, right? And Pesach we do not have any chametz. We don't eat any chametz. We bring the karban Pesach, but there's no meal offering because we're not allowed to bring any chametz. After that, it starts talking about you start counting the Omer, and during this Omer, every day they would bring a karban, they would bring a sacrifice. It would be a meal offering sacrifice, and it would be brought from barley. Now, this is the only offering that was bought from barley, except for one other offering, which I'm going to tell you about in a second. And then we have the holiday of Shavuot, and what do we bring on Shavuot? Shtei halachim, exactly. 2 things of chalot. Chalot, not matzah, but actually chametz.
I
Right?
said dairy.
The
but
meal,
you said-
the meal offering on Shavuot was chalot. That was what we brought from wheat, from chita, from wheat.
Yes.
So we have Pesach where we don't have any chametz, right? Then we have the intermediary part, the period of Sfirat HaOmer, where we're bringing barley. Now barley, when was the other time that we brought a thing of barley? Anyone listening very carefully in these classes over the years? There was only one other sacrifice that was made.
I know, in fact, you'll have me on this.
Huh? Exactly, the Isha Sota. The Isha Sota, when we talked about a woman who strayed, a woman who was unfaithful or was accused of being unfaithful, she was called the Isha Sota.
Isha Sota.
Isha Sota. So she brings a barley offering. Yes, Isha Sota. She brings this barley offering, and it says, why does she bring? Yes, the only other offering that was bought from barley, because barley is considered a lower kind of offering. It's not. It's what you feed animals. It's not like, I mean, nowadays we look at,
Yeah.
we look at things differently. We look at the black bread as the healthy bread, the white bread as the not healthy. But in those days it was a little different, and maybe the flour wasn't modified like ours is GMO. But the barley was then something that you feed the animals. The wheat was something that human beings eat. And so the Isha Sota brought that because she acted on her animalistic impulses by either she was unfaithful or she at least acted in a way that was unfaithful. She was with this other man. She secluded herself with this other man, so she acted on her animalistic inclinations, her animalistic instincts. And yet, during the Omer, we bring the barley offering. And the question is, why do we bring the barley offering? Why are we bringing the barley offering? And then comes Shavuot, and we bring challah, which we worked so hard on Pesach to get rid of the challah. Why are we bringing the challah now? Why are we bringing the chametz? We're trying to purify ourselves and get from Pesach, where there's total no chametz, and we're trying to go higher and higher and higher. And during this time, we're bringing barley, which is animalistic foods, animal foods. And then we get to Shavuot, and we're bringing the wheat offering. And the question is why? Why are we bringing the wheat on Shavuot? And why are we bringing the barley during this time period? So the answer is because what happened on Pesach? Pesach, it says, the nation ran. Ki barach ha'am. The nation ran out of Egypt. As soon as it came time that God says you're free, Pharaoh's letting you go. Ki barach ha'am. The nation ran away. They ran out of there. The question is, why were we running? Pharaoh's letting us out. God is taking us out. God is freeing us, and Pharaoh's letting us go. He's actually telling us, go, go. I don't want the firstborns to die because he was a firstborn. He was eager for us to leave. So why are we running? What was our hurry? Why are we running? So much so that we were running that the matzah couldn't turn into challah, right? It was baking on our backs. Why were we in such a rush? Why were we rushing out? Who were we running from? So the answer is, who are we really running from? Ourselves. Ourselves. Because it was so in us. That negativity was so steeped within us. It was so full. It was so much a part of us that we were running from ourselves. We were afraid if we just stay there, we're going to become it. We're going to become Mitzrayim. We have to get out. We were so full of it. We were so involved in it. We were so corrupt in it. We were so steeped in it that we felt if we stay any longer, we're going to become them. We're going to become just like them because we were so much like them. So we have to run away from ourselves. Now, that's when a person starts, when a person starts to try to change themselves. Like take, for example, someone who's an addict, who's constantly drinking, right? You just can't. You're completely addicted to the booze, to the substance. What do you have to do? You have to run away. You can't say, okay, moderation. There's no moderation. You have to go the opposite direction. You have to run from it. Any kind of addiction. When someone's addicted to something, you're addicted to food or to nash and that sugar that is, and you're diabetic. You can't have it in your home even, because it's something that's so much a part of you. It consumes you. But what happens? Once a person works on themselves, and that's what we're talking about during Sfirat Omer. First step is we're running away. Second step is, okay, we're out of that danger. We're now no longer in Egypt. We're now out of that place. We're out of that country. We're no longer there. Now what do we need to do? You can't run your whole life. And that's not the point. The point is not to run. The point is now I need to work on myself. I need to do the work. I need to face it, and I need to do the work slowly, one little bit at a time. One step ahead, 2 steps backwards, and then again, 1 step forward, 2 steps backwards, but I'm working, I'm doing that work. I'm polishing. And that's why we say the word usfartem, and you should count, is also sapir. You're polishing yourself. You're working on yourself. What part of ourselves are we working on? We're working on ourselves, the animalistic part of ourselves. See, every person has a divine self and an animalistic self. And when I say an animalistic self, it's not a bad part. It doesn't mean it's a bad part. The animalistic self is the part of you that is instinct. It's your instinct. Just like an animal goes with instinct, that's your instinct. Your instinct is survival. Your instinct is self-preservation. Your interest is self-interest. I'm interested in myself. And when you're in such a state, you're sometimes in that fight or flight state where I'm not in control of myself because my instinct is, I need it. I can't do for another. I have to preserve myself. I can't think about anybody else because I'm worried about myself. You're very much in that state of, I have to only think about myself. Now the divine self is that self that needs to influence that animal self and needs to say to it, hold on, we're not running. You're not in a flight or fight mode. Take it easy. Realize that it's okay. You don't have to act so instinctively. God is watching you. God is providing for you. It's not a matter of I have to grab whatever I need because otherwise I'm not going to have it. It's okay. You can share. You can give to others. You can be kind to others. You can be a good person. It's not a matter of I need. We're in a world that has God in it. And that's what we are constantly working on ourselves. Every single one of us is working on ourselves. All those times that you are acting out of anxiety, that's your animalistic self acting. All those times that you're acting out of despair, that's your animalistic self acting. All those times that you're thinking, I'm such a horrible person, that's your animalistic self. It's not your godly self. Your godly self is pure. Your godly self is whole. Your godly self is so connected to God and divinity, it's complete. It's very complete. But the animalistic self is when you're thinking not rationally, but you're acting out of instinct. I gotta go. I gotta do it. I gotta get it. Grabbing. Anxiety, depression, sadness. Those are all the animalistic self. And during Sphira, we're supposed to work on this animalistic self. And the animalistic self isn't bad. We need to use it, right? But we're working on that animalistic self. We're shining it. We're here in this world not to change the divine self, because the divine self is that pure self. But we're here to change that animalistic part of ourself, to imbue it with the divine soul, so that the divine soul influences it and says, you don't need to be in that flight or fight mode. It's okay. Life isn't always struggle, a survival. Just take it easy. Don't panic. Breathe. Right? Breathe. Breathe in. And when we breathe in, by the way, it says that God breathed into us the neshama. We're being in touch with ourselves. So that fear that we're feeling is all that animalistic self. And it's saying, take it easy. So during Sphira Ta'omer, we're working on that part of ourselves until we get to the point of Shavuot. We've worked on ourselves. And now we can actually have the challah. So on Pesach, we couldn't have any chametz because we're running away from Egypt. We're running away from any of that ego, right? The matzah is flat. We're running away from that sense of self. We're running away. We don't know what to trust. Comes Shavuot and we say, now it's okay to eat the challah because now you've worked on yourself. Now the idea is to integrate all aspects of creation, not to run away from creation. At the beginning, you might have needed to run away from the wine if you're an addict, but the true way is that you should be able to have a little bit of the wine and enjoy the wine. Just don't be so addicted to it, right?
That's hard.
It's very hard. And that's the challenge of this world. It's easy, in a way, to sit on the mountain and meditate all day long and not worry about anything. It's easy, in a sense. But that's not Judaism. Judaism is to use the world to use those cookies and to say a bracha on those cookies, to have God in mind, to use physical.
I need to get this on video.
We
Wait,
have to do
wait, say that again. I had to have those cookies.
We have to have those cookies, especially that banana cake. Especially that freshly banana
We
cake.
get every morning in part of the davening, we say, Elokai Neshama Natata Bi Torah. So our neshamas are pure, and we acknowledge that every day.
Yes,
So even though, obviously, I guess we just have to constantly be reminded of that every day.
yes, yes.
Right?
And that's what we're gonna go, you're bringing me to the next point, but before we get to the next point, which is,
I did not have nevuah.
you're reminding me, yeah. It's good, you're reminding me what I'm supposed to say. But before that, there's an example of, again, we'll go back to this king who has a son, and the son is very ill, right? So the son is very ill, so much so that he's not eating any food. And then the son wakes up and he wants some food. And this king says, before you give him any food, make sure he takes the medicine, because the medicine is what's going to make him better. So take away all the food from the house until he has his medicine. And then the son takes the medicine and he's better. And now you can bring in all the food because the son has taken the medicine. And the nimshal for this is on Pesach, we eat the matzah, which is supposed to be the food of faith. It's supposed to give us amunah, faith in God, because God did this for us. That faith it's food, it's a spiritual food of healing. And once we have eaten that medicine, eaten that faith, we realize that God is in control of this world, we can then we take the medicine, we can now get to the point where now we are at Shavuot, and we can actually eat all the food. We eat the challah, we eat the food that is full of ego, because the point is, use our ego, use our talent, use everything that we have, recognize it, and use it in the service of God.
Why is it dairy? Why do we eat dairy on Shavuot?
So why do we, that's a different reason. That's because,
okay.
it's okay, that's because on Shavuot,
Several reasons.
yeah, many reasons are given. The simplest reason is that they were just given the Torah. So
okay.
they didn't know, they didn't have all their dishes weren't kosher, they didn't know to shech the animals. Dairy is a
okay.
very easy thing to eat, so they
Okay.
just ate that.
Okay, thank you.
Now it says though that every person is supposed to, okay, we'll end with this. Every person is supposed to remember that we left Egypt every single day. Zachor, every single day, we're supposed to remember that we left Egypt each day. How do we do that in our physical day? So these three levels that we're just talking about are actually present in the prayers that we say. The first thing that we say in the morning is Modeh Ani.
Yeah.
I give thanks to Hashem. I'm acknowledging that God is the supreme leader. He's everything. He's the one that has given me my life, right? That is almost like the running away from the world. You're encompassing yourself in this bubble. The first moment that you wake up, you're saying, I'm thanking you, God. You are the master of the world. You are the one who runs the world. Everything is you. That full acknowledgement, that moment that you first open your eyes, you're fully acknowledging God. That's like the Barach Ha'am, the nation ran away. We're running away from our existence by saying, God is our existence. Then the next part is you've got to work through it. That's a nice thing to think of, but then you face reality and you face your day, right? And what happens in your day. So the next part of the davening is when we say Pesukei de Zimra, which is verses of praises for God. We're thanking God. We're talking specifically about God and all the things that He created the world. And we also say the Shema prayer, where we cover our eyes and we say, Shema Yisrael, listen, hear, O Israel, listen. And this point is the point where we're talking to our animalistic soul. Listen, we're working through it. We're working through the day. We're working through ourselves and the drives that we have. And then we get to the final part, which is the Shmona Esrei. And at this point, we're already we've worked through the issues, we've done the work of the ER, we've done the work of sparkling ourselves, and then we're at the Amidah prayer where we say, Hashem Sfatai Tiftach. God, open my mouth. God, you're saying what you're opening my mouth. I'm completely now at the point of Shtei Halechem. I'm at that point where I'm ready. I've worked on myself, and now my mouth is opening to God, and I'm at a very high level. I'm connected to God. And you might say, okay, so that's really nice. The Shemona Esrei prayer, you're standing in total sublimation to God, total humility before God. You're saying even God is opening your mouth. And yet that's the prayer where we're asking for our health, our parnasa, our chachma, God give us chachma, everything that we need. Why? If we're standing, this is the holiest moment, the highest moment of our prayer, and now we're asking for our personal needs. But the point is, when you get to that point, you realize that your needs are godly needs. When you're asking for these things, you're asking for it because you want to live in this world and serve God. You're not just asking, this is not the animalistic part of you that's saying, I need, I'm grabbing it all, right? This is the part of you that is saying, now how can I use the needs of this world to serve God better? And that's like the Shtei Halechem. That's like when we have those loaves of bread, they're loaves of bread, they're wheat, they're full of air, but we're using that air, we're using ourselves, we're using who we are to serve God totally. And that's why at that point, my needs are God's needs. And we realize that. So that is how we every day leave Egypt, through our prayers. We start off with the Modani, completely leaving Egypt and so encompassed by God. We then work through the prayers. We say, Shema Yisrael, listen. And then we get to the Amidah prayer, where we're able to even ask for our needs, but those needs are now God's needs. So this is what we're doing during this time period. We are working through those aspects of ourselves, trying to work on our animalistic self, which is not a bad self, but it's a self-interested self, and imbue it with our divine self, which is always 100% pure and isn't stressed or isn't fearful or isn't all these things. If you're feeling these things, you should realize it's your lower self, it's your animalistic self that's feeling it, and you need to imbue it with the divine rational self that can talk to it and calm it and can give it peace. And may we have this week be a good week where we're all working in that direction.